Let the rhythm groove. Music got to groove.
Hello everybody, Jordan here, and today we've got another video for you guys, and today we've got something new. As you can see by what's in front of you, and by the title of this video, we have a giant 737, again. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself,
Jordan, this is like the third time you've uploaded a giant 737. Not even third, fourth time. What do you do in your free time? Do you just make more 737s?
and to that, my friend, yes, you're absolutely right. In my free time, I don't socialize, I don't go outside, I just make more 737. Jokes aside, this aircraft is significantly different than our other aircraft, at least in the large scale, given how this is 5.5 to 1 scale, and all our previous 737s that were giant, quote-unquote, were like 7 to 1, 8 to 1, even 9 to 1. And the problem with that was we didn't follow blueprints, and that leads to a lot of mistakes when you try to eyeball it. I'll put a picture of the older giant 737 on the screen. Just looking at it, it's not proportional, it's wrong, and my god, those wings are bad. However, ever since making the giant 757 video of that, link in the description, we decided to actually use blueprints for making these aircraft, and they turn out a lot better, so we redid the entire thing. Now, there's a lot of liveries for this aircraft, and a lot of things I want to go over, so in order to make this video not be 30 minutes long, because quite frankly, I don't want to sit here for 30 minutes, and I bet you don't either, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the livery of the aircraft, and then show the interior, and that's probably going to be it. So, like, a livery might take like a minute at the most, so don't be surprised if I don't go into detail about a livery. Anyway, let's get started with the tour. Today's video is only on the 800 series. We've built the 900, we've built the 700, the 600 and Max, they're coming, but as of now, I only want to focus on the 800 for this video to keep it more organized. However, let's get started. So, we have two blank white versions of the 737, if you mind. We have the older version of the 737 with the underbelly landing lights, the CFM 56 with the 24K engine rating as opposed to the newer 27K engine rating, the older 737 interior, etc. So here's the older version, and as we can start touring the aircraft, as you can see, we've built slightly modified engines. This is the CFM 56 engine with the 24K rating. It's slightly different in the empennage and in the exhaust of the engine, but you'll notice the details when we get to the newer 737. So on the underbelly of the aircraft, we have the underbelly landing lights. Now on pretty much all 737s up until very recently, they included this, but on the newer 737s, they have LED lights in the wings that are so bright you don't need the underbelly lights, so they removed them. And if for the newer 737s such as Southwest Heart 1 and stuff, you're gonna see that it's not going to have the underbelly lights because detail matters. At the nose gear of the aircraft, we have some detail for that. Nose gear actually looks kind of proportional for once because usually we screw up on that. Engine also is proportional for once because again, we usually screw up on that, and we can go into some detail for the engine right here. So here's just the intake, fan blades, and just the internals of the engine right there. Anyway, on the engine, we have the engine cell strake, finally calling it by its proper name. We also have some of the details and signs on the engine right here. They just have a warning advising you, don't get close to this engine when we're running, you're gonna die. We also have this little inlet on the engine, which is like, it's like a little vent, which I noticed, so we added that. On the underside of the wing, we have the flap track fairings over here, as well as detail on the top part of the wing for the flaps and slats, as well as the spoilers of the aircraft. We have the winglets on this aircraft, which are pretty tall, so yeah, that's a thing. You also have the landing gear, and for once, the landing gear actually fits in the gear hold, so here's the gear bay for the landing gear. In reality, this is a lot more messy, but quite frankly, I couldn't be bothered to add that much detail. I mean, we care about detail, but not that much detail. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. We have the underbelly beacon light right there, and we just have more detail on the fuselage, such as that and that. Alright, on the interior of the aircraft, as you can see, it's been a drastic improvement since our previous 737s. So as you can see, we have the L1, R1 door, we have a little galley right here, and the flight attendant jump seat, as well as just a little operations panel right here. We have a lavatory right here, just a little workstation. We have 4 seats of business class right here, as well as just regular economy. Stretching out through the rest of the cabin, we have the overwing exits right here, and as you've noticed, no Boeing sky interior, that's a thing. At the rear of the aircraft, we have a galley right here, as well as the L4 and R4 door, as well as just more jump seats and a operations panel right there, and then just more lavatories right here. In the flight deck of the 737, we don't have a lot of space, which is pretty accurate to the real thing, as it's a little cramped, but we have the seats right here, the yokes, the panel with the 6 displays, the MCP, FMCs right here, throttle quadrant, along with the very iconic trim wheels on the 737. You have the foot pedals down here, and the seat position right here, so you can move your seat forward and backwards right there. Here's where the circuit breaker is supposed to be, and if you want, you can flick the I'm sorry, it's not you can turn on the dome, I think it is the dome light, what it's called, at the back of the 737. So yeah, pretty nice. Now, we previously just went over an older 737 model that rolled off the production line, you know, maybe in the 2000s, late 90s, or mid 2000s. Now, what we have here is a newer 737, which is a lot more common with airlines that have recently gotten 737s. So, as you can firstly tell from a difference, we have split scimitar winglets, a Satcom antenna, and the aircraft is equipped with the CFM56 engine with the 27K engine variant, which has a slightly different exhaust and a different empennage and underside of the engine. As I mentioned previously, there are no underbelly landing lights. There's LED, those are supposed to be LED lights in the wing. The engine is slightly different, as I just said, and there's the split scimitar winglets. Now, the split scimitar winglets can be equipped onto an older 737, but we decided to just, you know, put it on the newer one. And also to point out, as I said, in this version of the 737, we have the HUD down right there. Now, I'm not saying that the older 737s don't have HUDs, they very much do. It's just that we decided to not have it down on that aircraft for some strange reason. So, yeah, other than that, interior is very similar, for at least for the cockpit, but as you can see, back here, this has the Boeing Sky interior, which is very popular among customers. So it has mood lighting up here, and we just went with the standard Boeing blue, since that's the most common with airlines. So yeah, Sky interior, and galley is relatively the same, but yeah, it's newer 737 right there. So the first livery we have is the Boeing house livery, which was used during the first flight of the 737-800. This was, you know, used in the late 90s and promotional things and whatnot. Now, on the real livery, they had the different stabilizers of all the airlines that had ordered the aircraft. However, that's a lot of work, and I can't be bothered, to be honest, so I didn't add that. And there are variants of this without it, so deal with it. Also says Spirit of Renton right there on the nose cone. Now, this is the oldest 737 config we have right now. So as you can see, it has no winglets, no Satcom antenna. It has underbelly landing lights, since this was, you know, a test flight aircraft in the late 90s and doesn't have the improvements that the newer 737s have. There's no point in me showing the interior, since it's the exact same as the, you know, standard interior we have over there. But livery by Taxiway Nye, and he did a great job with the empennage, since it's a little difficult to make that curve, but he did a good job regardless. The next livery we have right here is Southwest Airlines in their Heart livery, because did you really expect me to into their fleet? And also, not too long ago, they rebranded, so put the two together and you get this. The 800 is sort of the flagship of their fleet right now, along with the MAX 8, so yeah, it's pretty nice. We have the Southwest billboard text on the fuselage, as well as the Southwest.com engine, as well as no landing lights and the LED lighting on the wing. We have the split scimitar designed for Southwest Airlines. They don't paint the bottom part of the scimitar, which is, that's a thing. We have the Southwest. The underbelly, there's no underbelly landing lights, since, as I said, it's a newer 737, which means the LED lights on the wing are bright enough not to have this. And there's the very iconic, if you will, Southwest Heart, which is on the underbelly of all their Heart aircraft. On the interior of the aircraft, it's not too different from what we just showed in the blank 737. It's just all economy with the Southwest seats and everything, so nothing too much about that. Oh, whoa, we got a lighting error back here. That's a problem. There we go. So, yeah, not too much though, but yeah, Southwest Airlines. Continuing on, we have a Southwest Airlines 737-800 in the Canyon Blue livery. Now, these liveries are being phased out slowly, and sooner or later, they're all going to be gone, except Warrior 1. I believe they're keeping that in Canyon Blue. But this is the livery that Southwest initially flew the 737-800 when they introduced it into their fleet. So I'm assuming this is an ETOPS aircraft, which is why the text on the nose gear is a little bit longer, and on the empennage of the aircraft, it also has the registration and the little ETOPS logo right there. So we have the registration, the the aircraft number, and a little ETOPS logo there. The Southwest text, which was pretty difficult to do on this stabilizer, because, you know, it's at an angle and it needs to go backwards here. So, it's a little difficult to do. Forgot to mention that all these aircraft are actually properly flipped for once, so that's a thing. We do have the Southwest.com winglets, and weirdly enough, Southwest paints the bottom part of their split scimitars blue, but they don't paint the bottom lobe of the scimitars on the Heart livery, which is a little strange, but it is what it is. On the interior of the aircraft, it features the older Southwest interior when they initially started flying the 737-800. It features this part, which, you know, Southwest kind of experimented if they wanted to have galley carts roll down the aisle and everything. Long story short, it doesn't work, and this is why you no longer see this interior. This also is fitted with the Evolve seats, because we're saying this aircraft was, you know, delivered around 2014. We're assuming this aircraft was delivered around maybe 2012, 2013. It was recently fitted with similar winglets, so that's why it does not have the new interior. Anyway, our next livery is American Airlines in their old chrome livery. As of now, they only have one livery like this, and that's just, you know, a retro livery, but livery by Taxiway 9, and overall looks pretty good. American was a pretty big operator of the 737-800. They still are, and they still support the 737 family pretty well, so that's a nice thing. We're assuming this is an older 737, which is why this has the 24K engine variant right here, and we also have the different coloring for the different parts of the fuselage of the aircraft. On the interior of the aircraft, we're assuming this aircraft recently got a retrofit, which is why it has business class right here. Kind of like an economy plus, if you will, or premium economy, and then just regular economy throughout the rest of the cabin right there. Anyway, livery was by Taxiway 9, and looks pretty good. Our next livery is American Airlines in the new livery. As of now, they have painted their entire fleet into this livery now, and chrome is only in the retro liveries now. So yeah, it just says American on the front right here. Taxiway ended up doing most of this livery, and it turned out pretty hot, so nice job there. As you know, there's no text on the winglet right there, and the quite artistic design by American Airlines for the empennage of the aircraft right there. So our next livery is United Airlines, livery by Mateo and I think Dush might have helped out with this livery, I'm not too sure. But United Airlines, again, is a pretty large operator, 737-800, so it only seemed natural to include them. We've got the little sign right there for United when they state they have Wi-Fi on board the aircraft and everything. We have United text and everything. Now, a cool thing about United is the Satcom antennas on their 737s are kind of different than the standard. They're larger than usual, which is why we have a different model of the Satcom antenna right there. We have the split stem in the winglets, since United likes to retrofit a lot of their aircraft with this, as well as the United Airlines tail at the aft of the aircraft. Our first livery that is not in the United States is Aeromexico, livery by Miles, since he's a pretty big fan of them. So we have Aeromexico in the new livery. Looks pretty nice overall. And what's really cool about Aeromexico is they paint the bottom lobe of their split cylinders orange, or a reddish orange if you will, and the top of it red. So yeah, they have a little stripe that just goes up through the aircraft. It states Aeromexico with the Mexican flag next to it. Blue engines, and we are assuming this is a newer version of the 737, which is why it has the 27K engine variant. And on the interior of the aircraft, as you see, it's very similar to the base, so we have some business class dividers, kind of like a premium economy, excuse me, and then just regular economy throughout the rest of the aircraft. Now, continuing on, we have Alaska Airlines in their refreshed livery. Now, I want to point something out now. We did not include the new Alaska Airlines livery because I couldn't be bothered, really, and it took a long time to do that livery on the 900. So if you want to see the new Alaska Airlines livery, tune in soon enough for the 737-900 video. However, regardless, this livery was quite a hassle to do, since Alaska has quite an artistic livery. I ended up doing the empennage right there for Chester, and my god, is that kind of difficult to do. I also ended up doing the Alaska text right there for the fuselage, and like I just said, my god, is that kind of difficult to do. But nevertheless, we have Alaska Airlines in the refreshed livery, so right before they made a new livery, they had this, so it's just gray on the underbelly. Funny enough, on the front of the aircraft, it states proudly all Boeing. Okay then, we have the winglets, which are slightly improved compared to the older Alaska liveries and the winglet design for that. On the interior of the aircraft, we have a small business class and then just regular economy with gray seats. Next up, we have the Delta 737-800, one of my more favorite 737 operators besides Southwest for some odd reason. Livery looks pretty great, and in case you didn't know, Delta likes to add a lot of Satcom antennas to their aircraft, so we have a forward Satcom antenna as well as an aft Satcom antenna, so a lot of the 73s are getting retrofitted with this. Funny enough, I don't believe Delta has modernized their livery on the 737-800, although they've done that on the 900 and 700. For some reason, they haven't done it on the 800, which is kind of weird. Now on board the aircraft, this is an older Delta Airlines aircraft, so basically Delta Airlines has not added a sky interior to their 800s. However, they do have, you know, like the new seats and everything, which is a little weird, but you know, it works. Delta business class right here, Delta Comfort Plus seats right here, and then just regular economy throughout the rest of the cabin. So yeah, and we also have a little curtain divider right here to keep the peasants from economy class out. Alright, moving into Europe, we have KLM, a Royal Dutch airline. Now, I like to apologize for how retarded that tail looks. Anyway, we have the front of the aircraft, we have a SkyTeam logo since KLM is a part of the SkyTeam Alliance. It states KLM Air France for their partnership at the nose of the aircraft, and just KLM Royal Dutch Airline right there. It states KLM as well as on the engine. On the interior of the aircraft, it's just simply all economy. Moving on into Canada, we have WestJet, since WestJet is a pretty predominant carrier of the 737. We're assuming this is kind of a newer version of the aircraft, so yeah, that's why we also have the 27K engine variant, as I've said numerous times already in this video. Split scimitar winglets, which WestJet has a pretty cool design for their winglets. We have the WestJet stabilizer right there, and then we have the proudly Canadian flag at the empennage of the aircraft, as well as the Boeing 737-800 text right there, and the registration behind the door towards the rear of the aircraft. For WestJet's interior, we have WestJet Plus, which essentially is just economy seats, only with the middle seat kind of blacked out, so you can have a tray table down there and put whatever you want right there. But besides that, we just have regular economy, and the aircraft also features the Boeing Sky interior. Our next livery is another operator of mine that I'm very fond of, TUI Fly, which is part of the TUI group. As you know, TUI flies around Europe, and it's the surrounding areas near Europe, and it's pretty cool. Great livery and everything else. Her pretty nice. Winglets are completely painted, and on the bottom part of the scimitar, it's red, which is pretty cool. Alright, our next livery is Aerolneas Argentinas, which, as you've guessed it, it flies in Argentina, and this is a 737. And unfortunately, the airline is retiring their 737-700s. However, I am very confident. I don't believe that they are retiring their 800s anytime soon. Livery by Miles, since he's pretty fond of this airline. Excellent job of the tail done by Miles right there. And we also have the winglets, which are also excellently done right there. We have the registration and other details right there for the aircraft. And on the interior of the aircraft, it's pretty cool because we have two business class seats and then kind of a curtain divider right here, and then just regular economy throughout the rest of the cabin. So yeah, Aerolneas Argentinas. Our next livery is Norwegian, which has recently become a pretty predominant 737 operator with the MAX, given they're really stretching the 737 to its limit to get the best they can out of the aircraft. Unfortunately, we did not paint the tail because, quite frankly, I can't be bothered to put that much work into a tail. I mean, have you seen Norwegian tails? They're kind of hard to do. At the front of the aircraft, it states Norwegian.com, and I think Miles, who did this livery, did a great job with making the text look like the real world counterpart. And the interior is pretty much just all economy right here. So yeah, we have Norwegian. Alright, the next livery is Transavia, livery by Gamer Pigs or Mateo. It's their older livery. They recently have updated it, and quite frankly, I think they did a great job with updating it. Now, we don't have the updated version of the livery here yet because, you know, couldn't be bothered, but overall, pretty cool livery and very iconic and very recognizable livery right here. And you can go die. On the interior of the aircraft, it's all economy with green seats. Now, unfortunately, we don't have green slabs, so we had to opt for cobblestone. But other than that, I think the livery looks pretty good, especially on the interior. And it really captures the interior works of Transavia. So yeah, overall pretty nice. Alright, stepping into Russia, we have Aeroflot, livery by Miles, and overall I think he did a great job, especially with the detail of the color flow from the stabilizer to the front of the aircraft. We have the pretty cool tail design right there, and I never really paid attention to it, but Miles did. And the red on the stabilizer that kind of symbolizes the Russian flag, it kind of fades into an orange onto the fuselage, which looks very nice, and Miles did a great job with that. We have a SkyTeam logo right there, as well as the Russian flag and other details right there. It states Aeroflot right there on the fuselage. On the interior, we have some rows of business class, as you can see, with blue seats with an orange headset. And once we step into economy, it's just basically blue seats with orange headsets again. Our next livery is Scandinavian for our Scandinavian viewers. Pretty nice livery. I think Miles and Taxway ended up doing this livery. States Scandinavian. As you already can see, the entire aircraft is kind of in a grayish tone, and it just simply states Scandinavian Airlines on the fuselage, and we have numerous flags right there at the nose of the aircraft as well as the rear of the aircraft. It states SAS on the vertical stabilizer. It states SAS on the vertical stabilizer over there, and it also states that on the winglets right here. And as you can see, the engines are red in the front part of the cowling and, gray in the rear part of it. Interior is pretty simple. It's just simply all economy with, you know, pretty nice seats overall. So, yeah, Scandinavian Airlines. Our next livery is Qantas Airlines, Spirit of Australia, in the new livery, since we're not going to forget our Australian viewers and fans of Qantas. So, as you see, this is the new livery where they have the logo on the nose of the aircraft. Qantas is stated in the new font on the fuselage, and it's also the One World sticker, since Qantas is part of One World. And on the interior, we have the Qantas business class right here, as well as regular economy. Boeing Sky Interior as well for this aircraft, since let's be real, Qantas likes to keep the aircraft pretty clean, modern, and up to speed. So, yeah, Qantas Airlines. Our next livery is the Reno Air Retro livery from American Airlines. I'm not going to show the interior, as you've already seen what it looks like, but simply it's just a heritage livery from American Airlines, livery by taxiway, which is basically Reno's Air livery, only slapped onto a 737-800. And as you can see, the empennage, you know, is the exact same as, you know, Reno Air. So, yeah. Our next livery is ATA Airlines, if any of you guys remember them. In the early 2000s, ATA went out of business, unfortunately, but they were a pretty predominant carrier at Chicago Midway and other airports around that. Rowan ended up doing this livery, so it states ATA right there on the aircraft, and I think he did an outstanding job with writing ATA on the vertical stabilizer. That's pretty difficult to do right there. On the interior, it had kind of brownish grayish seats, so that's pretty interesting right there. But as I stated before, this airline has long been gone from service, and Rowan just added it for nostalgic purposes, since we've both seen it at Chicago Midway a couple times. Not forgetting our Irish and European viewers, we have Ryanair, which is a pretty large carrier of the 737 following Southwest Airlines, livery by Miles and I think Miles did an outstanding job with the logo on the vertical stabilizer right there, and as well as the Ryanair text and logo at the front of the aircraft. Was a little bit difficult given you don't have a lot of space to work with, but overall pretty nice. Alright, on the interior, we decided to do the newer interior for Ryanair, which is starting to be rolled out, since quite frankly I don't want to add the overly saturated yellow interior on board this aircraft, but it's pretty nice. Ryanair is really trying to clean up their act to make it themselves a much more renowned airline. So yeah, they're great for low-cost travel, and they're pretty successful, so they must be doing something right. Good job, guys. Our next livery, stepping into Poland, we have LOT, a Polish airline right here. Well, it's not a Polish airline, it's Polish Airlines, whatever. Livery by Miles did a great job, especially with the logo at the empennage of the aircraft. Great job with that design, by the way. I know I just said that, but wow, that's really good. I just noticed it. As well as mimicking the design onto the winglets right there. Just as you know, it just states LOT, L-O-T right there on the fuselage. And that's kind of it for the livery. It's, you know, all blank, which is pretty nice. It's clean and modern. On the interior of the aircraft, we have the Boeing Sky Interior, as well as a kind of similar to WestJet Plus. The middle seat is just, you know, kind of blacked out, and it has a tray table or little table that goes down so that the two passengers in the aisle and window seat can put their utilities right there. But other than that, all economy throughout the rest of the cabin, and overall is pretty nice. So yeah, LOT, Polish Airlines. Our next livery, Air China, stepping into the region of China. Livery by Miles and I, and as you guessed it, this airline flies within China. They recently took their very first 737 MAX 8, so it's great to see that they're still flying the 737 to this day. And this aircraft is also still in service. Pretty cool livery. It feels a little old, but it still feels new and kind of cool, regardless. On the interior of the aircraft, they have a business class right here, and then just regular economy throughout the rest of the cabin. And overall, looks pretty nice, pretty comfortable. So yeah, Air China. In our last livery today is Sun Express. Now, I ended up making this livery since I wanted to kind of get all the regions around the world, and this is kind of that region between Europe, Asia, and all of that. So yeah, Sun Express, they're a pretty cool airline. I think they have a great livery, which is belly, as well as the Sun Express logo and design on the empennage. And the top of the winglets, it's just this, it's very simple but modern simultaneously. So yeah, registration as well as the national flag at the after. Anyway, on the interior, it states Sun Express right here with the design there, and overall just regular economy. throughout the rest of the cabin. Pretty nice though. It looks like they're really trying to make a nice airline out of themselves. So yeah, Sun Express. Anyway, that concludes our tour of the 737-800 series showcase for you guys. If you guys would like to see more aircraft and more of this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, smack that like button for more Minecraft madness like this. A 737, 700, 600, and MAX video, as well as the 900 is coming soon. The 700 and 900 is already built. It's just simply put that, you know, we're adding more liveries to the aircraft so we can have more variety in a video. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, smack that like button for more Minecraft madness, and I will see you in the next episode. I'm Jordan. Thanks for watching.